thanks very much for joining us on this Sunday. A few weeks back, we had a chance to talk politics and policy with the chairman of the state Democratic Party, Senator Tom McGee. Well, this week, it's the other side of the aisle with our guest, chair of the Massachusetts Republican Party, Kirsten Hughes. Kirsten, welcome.
Thanks for having me, John.
Always good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Appreciate you coming by. Before we get into all the State House stuff, you're also a Quincy City Councilor.
Correct.
So I got to ask you, the Boston 2024, the group that wants to bring the Olympics here, wants to stage beach volleyball in the parking lot out at Squantum.
Yes.
I know there's going to be a big public hearing coming up soon in Quincy about this, but you're in touch with your constituents. What's your early read on whether or not this is a good idea?
Well, there's a lot of nervous folks out there, a lot of people asking some questions, you know, questioning not only is this a good move, but more importantly, is this what we want in our city? And I know that Mayor Koch is talking to the 2024 folks. I know the councilors, my colleagues and I are going to have a chance to give our input and talk about this. But
off the top,
people are speculating.
Do you like it or don't you?
You know, I'm going to wait and see.
Okay.
It gives me a little pause to think about what this might look like for the city. You know, we are a small city, but we're a very tight-knit community. People aren't fleeing the city in the summer. You know, they like to live and work where they are. So for us to sort of take off for 2 weeks during the Olympics isn't a reality. And so it will pose difficult transportation problems, I think, for the city that we really have to talk about.
All right, we'll be keeping an eye on that. By the way, has Boston 2024 contacted you and the other councilors to talk about this, or?
I know they've been in touch with the mayor's office. I haven't spoken directly with those folks, but
okay.
I expect they will be reaching out.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about probably the dominant issue right now on Beacon Hill, which is the governor's proposed reforms of the MBTA. People that listen to the radio around here, I'm sure have heard the ads from the Carmen's Union. They're attacking that crucial element of the reform plan, the easing of the privatization law that restricts, basically, essentially, bars or creates an unsurmountably high hurdle for privatization products for the most part. Do you see this as a test of who runs the show on Beacon Hill, the unions or the people?
Well, I think it's a test that's pretty clear who's winning on the Senate side of things, right? People who are beholden to those constituencies that keep them in their Senate seat, but like the unions. And look, the governor really needs every tool available in order to fix what we saw wreaked havoc on our transportation system. Cities like Quincy, places like Boston, but people in the outskirts of the city that come in to work need to rely on transportation, and giving Governor Baker the tools to really work with and implement those changes for the T to have some success is important. And it doesn't matter who's in the way, the unions or the legislators, we need to take a stand.
Well, the Carmen's Union and their ads claim that easing the so-called Pacheco law, lifting it for a period of time for T projects, would allow greed-crazed private interests, the same people who made a hash of the big dig, to come in and wreck our state. What's your response to that?
That's utterly ridiculous. What we've had for these past several years clearly hasn't worked. I mean, and we've had the Pacheco law in place. It's time to do something different. It's time to change things and the way the power structure is within the MBTA and make things work for, again, the ratepayers, the people who take the T every day and rely on it, not for the special interests, not for the unions. And again, that's ridiculous. We've had this in place for years and it hasn't worked.
We got to take a break, but there's been some speculation that, you know, the governor's plan contained a lot of stuff. And it's routine in any tough negotiation to ask for more than you think you're going to get, and then you settle for, and the opponent gets to say, well, I won this or I prevented this. Is the Pacheco law part of this up for negotiation, or is that must-have for the governor, as far as you can tell?
Well, it seems like the governor is open to discussion on many points, whether the Pacheco law is something that's a sticking point for him. Look, he needs every tool available. He is going to take every opportunity to fix the T. That is what he committed to. And this is an important link in that, and chain in that.
Would you be disappointed if he backed off that?
We'll have to wait and see what the governor wants to do.
Very diplomatic answer. All right, Kristen, we'll take a short break and we'll continue as we talk with the head of the Mass State GOP, Kirsten Hughes. Please stay with us. Welcome back. We're talking with Kirsten Hughes, the chair of the Massachusetts Republican Party. Now, there's this big battle going on between the House and the Senate, and that the state Supreme Court had to rule on whether or not the Senate could initiate changes in the tax law. I won't dive into all the gory details. The bottom line is the House is saying no new taxes. The Senate does want to raise taxes. Obviously I know where your party stands, but what do you make of this battle? And, you know, who's got the upper hand here?
Well, it's unfortunate that the Senate is not really adhering to the will of the voters. And clearly what happened in 2014 where people, you know, overwhelmingly, again, looked for a two-party system where they chose Governor Baker to lead the state. And the Senate's really not paying attention to the will of the voter here. And I think what you'll see happen is, hopefully, they start to change their tune a little bit and backtrack a little bit on this. I think it is an interesting interplay between the House and the Senate. They're really duking it out, but the House is certainly, I think, hopefully going to win a little bit back, and hopefully, you know, will not be in the position that the Senate wants us to be in.
Well, speaking of the will of the voter, what do you make as a Republican and as an activist of this cattle call in the presidential race? I mean, and how many of these people are just in it to boost their brand and sell a book and what have you? And Donald Trump.
I was just going to say, Donald Trump, look, I think that's all Donald Trump is in it for. Now, please, everybody in my party, don't call me and you know, yell at me if you're a Donald Trump supporter, but...
Well, certainly don't call me and yell at me. You can yell at her.
But, yeah, sure. I'll take all calls. But I think it speaks to really the strength of our party, the diversity of candidates that we have. But if you look at the field, really, there is only a few folks that are really able to, I think, be in it for the long haul.
And the likely nominee, in your view, will be?
That's an interesting one. I'm going to save that answer along with some other key questions for later in the season.
We appreciate you coming by, Kirsten.
Thanks a lot, Jon.
Thanks very much. Stay in touch.
Yeah.
Kirsten Hughes, head of the state Republican Party. That's it for us. Now, it's back to my colleagues for more WBZ News.